Hello everyone. Welcome to Magical Stocks channel, where fundamentals meet technical. PSE index bounced back to green in the recently concluded week. It went up from 6,436.10 last March 19, 2021, to 6,544.63 this March 26, 2021. This performance is equivalent to a 1.69% increase in the index for the week. Our magical stocks also went up and followed the index. The first batch went up from 191.69k pesos to 195.66k pesos, or a 2.07% gain in our investment. The second batch also went up from 161.38k pesos to 165.58k pesos, equivalent to a 2.60% increase in our investment. Overall, our magical stocks total gain went up from 12.35k pesos to 20.52k pesos. We will update the first and second batches of magical stocks together with November 2020, December 2020, February 2021, and the recently screened March 2021 experimental magical stocks for this week's video. We have an excellent March 2021 experiment result for the week, and please watch until the end on what stock carried the experiment to green. SCC also has a high dividend declaration. Details are discussed towards the end of the video. Before we proceed with our update, and if you are interested in investing using our magical stocks or monitoring our system's effectiveness, please like this channel, subscribe and hit the notification button to keep you updated weekly. Let's first discuss the November experimental magical stocks performance from March 19, 2021, to March 26, 2021. Here is our worksheet for our November experimental stocks. The top performer is still SECB gaining 8.52%, and the top loser is now MPI losing -10.14%. We still don't have any sell signal for each of the 5 experimental stocks. Let's look at the trend which we started to monitor last November 20, 2020. The PSE index went up from -10.23% to -8.72%, gaining 1.51%. The experimental magical stocks also went up from -3.79% to -2.80%, gaining 0.99%. The index and experiment are still below the benchmark line. However, our experiment is above the index with a gap of 5.92% this March 26, 2021, coming from 6.44% last March 19, 2021. Let's now discuss the December experimental magical stocks performance from March 19, 2021, to March 26, 2021. Here is our worksheet for our December experimental stocks. FGen is still the top stock gaining 6.56%, while the top loser is still DMC losing -10.40%. We still don't have any sell signal for each of the 5 experimental stocks. Let's look at the experiment's trend, which we compare against the PSE index starting December 18, 2020. The PSE index went up from -11.50% to -10.01%, gaining 1.49%. The experimental magical stocks also went up from -6.44% to -3.41%, gaining 3.03%. The index and experiment are still below the benchmark line. However, our experiment is above the index with a gap of 6.61% this March 26, 2021, coming from 5.06% last March 19, 2021. Let's now discuss the February 2021 experimental magical stocks performance from March 19, 2021, to March 26, 2021. Here is our worksheet for the experimental stocks. The top performer is now SCC gaining 4.89%, and the top loser is still VLL losing -10.17%. We still don't have any sell signal for each of the 5 experimental stocks. Let's look at the trend which we started to monitor last February 19, 2021. The PSE index went up from -7.08% to -5.51%, gaining 1.57%. The experimental magical stocks also went up from -6.77% to -4.38%, gaining 2.39%. The index and experiment are still below the benchmark line. However, our experiment is above the index with a gap of 1.13% this March 26, 2021, coming from 0.31% last March 19, 2021. Let's now discuss the recently screened March 2021 experimental magical stocks for their first week performance from March 19, 2021, to March 26, 2021. Here is our worksheet for the experimental stocks. The top performer is DMC gaining 8.60%, and the top loser is MPI losing -3.63%. All stocks are on green except for the top loser, that is MPI. We have a good selection for all the blue chip stocks in the screening schedule in March, just like we did last October 2020, where we are gaining 29.25% currently. Let's look at the trend which we started to monitor last March 19, 2021. The PSE index went up from 0.0% as our benchmark to 1.69%, gaining 1.69%. The experimental magical stocks also went up from 0.0% as our benchmark to 2.61%, gaining 2.61%. The index and experiment are above the benchmark line. Our experiment is above the index with a gap of 0.92% this March 26, 2021. For our dividend update, SCC declares a 1.25 cash dividend per share payable on April 23, 2021. With our buying of 13.52 per share, our dividend yield equals 9.25%. Here is the worksheet of our first and second batch of magical stocks. The first batch is all in green, while the second batch is still in the red zone. To summarize our investment, the first batch of magical stocks is gaining 29.25% coming from 26.62%, while the second batch is losing by -12.67%, coming from -14.89% last week. Overall, with an investment of 300,277.07 pesos, our investment's current value is 320,521.59 pesos, equivalent to 6.74% coming from 4.02%. We still have a good first batch of magical stocks and a bouncing back to the uptrend second batch. That will be all for the magical stocks update this week. Thank you for watching. Next week, we will update the trend for the first and second batches of magical stocks and the 4 experimental stocks. Quote, "In the short run, the market is a voting machine, but in the long run, it is a weighing machine." Unquote. Benjamin Graham. See you in the following video. Have a great day ahead.